Good evening. It is Wednesday, November 15th at 5 o'clock, and we will begin our Human Rights Commission meeting. Could I please get a call to order?
Connie Auden.
Yeah.
Iham Ahmedi.
Here.
Rachel Stone. McCall Pauline Normandin.
Here.
Deb White.
Here. We'll move on to our land acknowledgement. We, the Moorhead Human Rights Commission, collectively and with gratitude, acknowledge the sacred land the city of Moorhead is built upon. We acknowledge the people who have resided here for generations and recognize that the spirit of the Dakota, Ojibwe, Métis, and all indigenous communities permeates this land. The contribution of the indigenous people shall not be forgotten, nor will the success that is achieved by the people of the land. We will continue to educate, advocate, honor, and unite for the indigenous people of this land. Moving on, any agenda amendments from the October meeting, October 18th, or from this meeting as well? None? All right. And then we're going to, if there are no amendments or anything else to add, could I get a motion to approve the agenda and approval of minutes from October and September?
All motion.
Get a second?
Connie.
All right. All in favor? Say aye.
Yes. Aye.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Any opposed? Same sign. All right. The agenda and minutes are approved. Do we have a guest speaker this evening? No guest speaker. We will go on to our community partners, and we have Alex Milton from Out Front who will present for us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. As said already, my name is Alex Milton. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the Policy and Community Organizing Coordinator at Outfront, Minnesota. So to start us off, we're going to talk a little bit about who Outfront Minnesota is. So we are Minnesota's largest 2S LGBTQIA+ group that works towards civil rights advocacy for people in Minnesota. So Outfront's mission is to build power within Minnesota's 2S LGBTQIA+ communities and address inequities through intersectional organizing, advocacy, education, and direct support services. Our vision is that we envision a safe and equitable world where all members of our communities are free to lead lives of opportunity, autonomy, and full self-expression. So to talk about our work a little bit more, we're going to break that down into the categories that our work typically shows up in our communities. So first off, we have our anti-violence program, which works with our community members who have experienced any type of violence. We have our educational equity program, which works with youth in K-12 schools all throughout the state of Minnesota. And then we have our policy and organizing program, which works with our community members and legislators to put on events and advocate for policy changes. And then we also have our training cohort, which we provide several different types of trainings to schools, religious congregations, shelters, corporations, and more. Now we're going to delve a little bit more into each program. So starting off, we have our anti-violence program, and we support approximately 300 clients through this program. However, this year we have received over 1,600 calls to our helpline, and these calls are from all over the state of Minnesota. So we do this work through, like I said, our helpline, crisis counseling, safety planning, peer counseling, advocacy, and even financial assistance. Moving on to our educational equity program. Our educational equity program works to achieve Minnesota's equity in Minnesota's K-12 schools. So far in 2023, our organization has helped Duluth create a gender inclusion policy in their schools, has helped Osseo Public Schools pass a resolution that deems June to be LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And they support 45 GSAs each year. GSA stands for Gender and Sexuality Alliance. And this year, there are actually 2 new ones that Outfront has helped establish in the cities of Cloquet and New Richland. This program also trains 1,500 youth and 1,500 adults per year. And they also put on an annual event called the Youth Summit. The Youth Summit is a chance for kids in schools to come down to the cities, spend a day in community with their peers from all over the state, and to learn more about their communities and experience joy together. Finally, I'm going to talk about our policy and organizing program, which is the program that I am a part of and therefore know the most about. So far in 2023, we have been doing a great job of advancing positive policy for the trans and queer community. And through doing that, we held a Transgender Day of Visibility event down in the Twin Cities, where about 350 people were in attendance. We also held our Lobby Day, which had 60 people in attendance, to gather for a rally and a panel session with our policy advocates. We have also worked with legislators this year to pass a ban on conversion therapy, and we also passed the Trans Refuge Bill, talking about the Take Pride Act a little bit more, because that's the one people don't know as much about. That got rid of some exemptions and exclusions that Minnesota nonprofits that were religious in nature. In the initial law, it said that these nonprofits could still discriminate against the queer community. That is no longer a thing. Also with that, there was a part in old Minnesota law saying that Minnesota does not condemn nor condone homosexuality. That is no longer in the law either. So we had some really great wins this last year. Now, finally, we'll talk about kind of the different kinds of trainings that we offer. So our most popular one by far is our 2S LGBTQIA 101, but we also offer trainings on allyship, religious organizing, school trainings, and we can also design trainings if people would like to request a very specific one. In 2023 so far, we have held 174 trainings. 94 of these have been in schools, 21 have been in religious spaces, and the rest have been in workplaces and corporations, with 15 of these being held in Greater Minnesota. I know at past events and past meetings, you all have talked about wanting to know what kind of events are happening in community and how to help out. So here are some of the things that are coming up for us in the next few weeks and months. First off, Trans Day of Remembrance is happening next Monday on November 20th, 2023. There are a number of community events in this area that will be held. One of the most popular ones and the one that is open to the public will be on MSUM's campus that night. We also have a 2S LGBTQIA plus town hall coming up in January and February. We're finalizing the rest of the details and we can get the events, dates, times, all of that information to you all. We also have our Lobby Day at the Capitol set for February 27th and our Youth Summit set for March 13th. As you can see, those are some of the other types of trainings that we offer. And I also want to point out that our helpline number is on there as well. So if anybody here today in the audience or if anyone online is watching who needs help and assistance, please know that that number is there for you. And I want to thank you again for having me here tonight to talk about Outfront Minnesota.
Thank you very much, Alex, for your work and the information that was provided. We can transition into questions. My question is, are you okay with questions from the commission?
Yeah.
What challenges do you have, particularly in this region, that we can
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So with being a statewide organization, a lot of the work that we can do is limited to being on the Minnesota side. And through my conversations with other activists and community members, the one thing that continues to come back to me is that most of the resources are actually in Fargo on the other side of the river. At this point, I have talked with several community activists and not a single one of them can tell me officially, yes, this is a place, a specific place in Moorhead being like a coffee shop or a restaurant. I have not gotten an answer as to a single queer affirming, trans affirming space in Moorhead.
I think there is one, right? The Red Raven.
The Red Raven is not yet open.
Not yet open. My bad.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to work on that information. Any other questions or comments?
I guess the next thing I would just tag on to that and say, if folks want to get involved, so, you mentioned some of the trainings, but if they just want to get involved locally here with Outfront, what could they do?
Yes, that's a great question. So first off, I would direct people to our website. On our website, we have abilities for people to check boxes saying they want to volunteer or they want to come to events. As we are getting up and going in Moorhead, we'll be doing some very specific targeted things in this area. And again, hopefully once the Red Raven is open, I know we'd love to partner with them, do events there. And I'm also working with a couple of other groups in the area trying to figure out what a organizing training would look like for people in this area to become organizers and gain confidence in those skills.
Any other questions? Thank you again, Alex. We look forward to working with you. And yeah, great to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. We have citizens to be heard tonight. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Janine, you dropped something.
Do I need to introduce myself?
Please.
Okay. Janine Hansen from 3rd Ward. And I just wanted to address the nomination process for the Human Rights Awards. And I know I'm a little late in doing this because I think they were due on Monday, but I noticed on the nomination form that there are multiple nominators that are encouraged for each nominee. And actually, I think multiple ones should be required. I believe last year there was only one for each nominee. And I think that sets the bar rather low, considering that we have a population of more than 40,000, I believe now. I would suggest that a minimum of 15 to 20 be required for each nominee, just sort of as a check and balance. I believe if there's only one, it just kind of sets the bar kind of low. Last year also, I believe there was no vote by elected officials, and this puts the decision only in the Human Rights Commission. So I think if the council would also have to vote, it would just show a little more accountability to the citizens. And personally, I have no problem asking for other people to sign on if I were to nominate someone. So that would provide, kind of a check and balance for me as well. So anyway, I just thank you for your anticipated consideration.
Thank you so much,
you.
Janine.
Okay.
We'll certainly discuss that. Okay, next item on the agenda. Before we do that, any other citizens to be heard tonight? We'll move on to our law enforcement update with Officer Hudson.
Good evening. So just a couple things I'll hit here. I did receive a list of questions that were submitted by your subcommittee by Councilmember White, and I'll take those into consideration on exactly how we break them up. A couple questions that I have for you is regarding time. Specifically, I'm looking at maybe doing quarterly, and I'm going to not be the one speaking on most of them. I want to bring in our department experts so you can hear from them. Just so you understand the kind of themes that I'm seeing that we're asking about is our use of force and reviews, our process of reviewing, our involvement with youth, I would like to make this maybe our 1-year review of body cameras. I know body cam was one of the questions, so kind of wait until I get more data and we get a more polished some more polished data to present to you. And then finally, I believe the last piece was our mental health response. And I can give you a quick update on that here when I'm in a few minutes. But the biggest question I have is, I know that we're limited on time with just our meetings and having guest speakers and community partners speaking. I want to know how we want to work this out in regards to, and this doesn't have to be a decision right now. It's just I need some direction on how much time do you want me to have, and then is it 3 times a year, 4 times a year? But it's just a consideration I'd like to present to the Human Rights Commission, because that gives me some parameters on what to work with. So I appreciate the thoughtful questions. I just want to kind of know where we're at with it.
So are we looking at having a meeting specifically for updates, or does the outreach and education committee want to talk about that and provide recommendations?
Sure. I can just say from when we talked about it at our last commission meeting, what we said is we were exploring a few possibilities, but one is Officer Swenson mentioned. I shouldn't have said officer. Sorry, like it's going back a ways. So we could. So one of the things that we thought of is that initially we were thinking of this as kind of a one-off, and we wanted to make sure that we gave there plenty of time to have these questions and be able to put something together. But then as we were sort of thinking about it more, we thought maybe this would be something that we would want to have as more of a, it could be quarterly, it could be a couple times a year. It really is up to the commission, where as we're hearing things, like in this case, we had, lots of things that we'd heard, and rather than saying you've got to talk, we certainly didn't want to say you have to answer all these in one meeting. It was more of like, hey, maybe this could be something that could be broken up, and that was where going through and thinking about it in terms of themes, that those could be things where you could do like a short presentation. And actually, maybe this, I will just say, one of the things that we'll be talking about tonight too is our calendar for next year. We had some recommendations for topics, but that hasn't been decided. We could even look at paring back some of those and having certain months where we say this is where we're getting our law enforcement update, where we give a chance for, as we're hearing things from the community of questions, that it gives the chance for this to be a forum where those things can be discussed, and then we can get the word out about it. Like, this is the month where we're doing this, and if people want to come, they are able to. So that was kind of where we left it, and so we just need to decide if we do want to have this be something where we do it over, again, possibly quarterly, or it's really up to the group of what you think would work best.
So, I mean, any suggestions? Do you think quarterly, twice a year?
I like that idea of quarterly, and also having like scaling back on the speakers and having them come in and fill it in at that point, rather than adding more meetings, because pretty sure we all have plenty of meetings.
Yeah.
That we could just have it then, because we sometimes struggle to get people in here
Yep.
for speakers, so
Yep.
why not use that time?
Yep, I agree. Quarterly agenda item, that way the public will know, and if they would like to come in here or have questions, they're welcome to come.
So under that direction, I'll just work on something for next month of kind of what our topics, and then we can look at months if that's the direction I have right now to work on.
Yep.
And again, if there's a specific event that happens that you want a guest speaker, I don't have hurt feelings by being put to a different month or having that go. So it just gives me a little bit of structure to be able to grab some people to come in and speak, but it can also be pretty flexible on that part. So second thing is regarding mental health. This is very fresh, and I don't have all the details, but right now the Clay County Social Services have contracted with Lakeland Mental Health, and it's going to be it's a pilot program for Moorhead starting in December, and I'm going to refer to it as, based off of the terminology that we use, like a quick response unit. So it will be on evenings, Monday through Friday is what they're looking at scheduling right now, and it will be 2 mental health workers that will be dispatched along with the ambulance, or actually dispatched through the ambulance service. And they'll be there to be almost like a first responder unit would work in EMS, like the fire department. They'll go to assist in stabilizing or providing initial care to those people struggling in mental health crisis. And then the actual mobile mental health workers will respond there. What that's going to do is fill in that gap, that hour response time that they're claiming takes right now for mobile mental health, and it will free up the first responders and hopefully alleviate actually some of our call volume, because some of those are, there's no other option available right now than to dispatch police and fire or ambulance. This will help fill some of those gaps. So this is a very new program. It's just going to be running for approximately 4 months underneath this grant, just to see how this is working. It's a goal that I've had for a long time, so I'm very happy to see this type of system being developed. But by no means do I have a high expectation that this is the final product as they go through it, but it's at least giving the word that we're moving forward in the right direction. And finally, I have just some dates for this. Between now and our next meeting is we graduate approximately 24 people from our Citizen Police Academy tomorrow night. And I'd like to recognize your subcommittee member M as attending all of them and asking good questions and taking good notes and asking more questions afterwards for follow-up. So I appreciate the involvement that she had in there, and they had in there, and that we will be looking at working with you all for trying to do the recruitment for next year. But that's a great thing. A couple other things I have is the police department. This is officer initiated, and I don't know how many years this has been happening now, but they'll be starting the Giving Tree, in which they work with Churches United for all the children that are currently housed there. And we get their ages and interests, and their names go on a Christmas tree in the police department, and the officers take it upon themselves to take those names and buy presents and have them wrapped. And then later on in the year, Santa comes to visit. That happens to look like one of our employees a little bit, but it's Santa Claus. And they'll go to Churches United to deliver all those things. So that's a pretty nice thing. And again, I like to stress the fact that this was line officer initiated project that was just something they wanted to fill a need in the community. So I'm very proud to see how they work on that. But and we also have Shop with the Cop that comes this time of year also, and that's with our PAL program, in which names are provided by providers in the schools for families in need, in which they go to a business and shop with the cop to pick out for their families, and are able to get those presents wrapped and everything for them with the assistance of not only law enforcement in our side of the river here, but also with our police volunteers that take their time to help wrap all those presents. So just some nice things to highlight from our department for this next coming month.
Wonderful. Thank you for the updates. And to our officers that do so much community work. That's really appreciated. And I am really excited for the pilot program for the mental health. I hope that it continues even after the 4 months. Anything we can do to assess with any of the programming happening?
No, we just like to have, get those words out.
Okay.
And again, a lot of these things that I'm mentioning isn't for recognition of the staff. It's more of just to assist the community, and that makes it extra special. So we appreciate just that fact that we can get the words out.
Thank you. And congratulations to Em as well for completing. Any other questions?
I know you said they don't need support, but can we at least, people can donate to, at least the Shop for the Cop, right? If they wanted to?
So the Pell program is a 501c3 nonprofit. It's sponsored separate by a board of directors, but it's part of, the executive director is one of our sergeants, and they do take donations, and they're a part of the Giving Hearts Day, and they're a part of some other pieces. So that is a way, there's no city funds in that part. That is all through donations from the community. And they were struggling this year a little bit because a corporate sponsor had pulled out for a sponsoring for the Shop with a Cop, and the sergeant made one presentation and received one check from a community member that filled that gap on there. So it's nice to see. But as we meet with our with all of our other subcommittees and other meetings, we know there's even more every year. Seems to be more children in need. So every year they're looking for more financial support to try to provide for these.
Well, thank you so much for those updates. Appreciate your time. Okay, moving on to regular business. We do have our Human Rights Award nominations. We received 16 nominations this year. And the awards committee and events committee did meet. But I'm wondering if anybody else has input before we put forth our recommendations.
I have my, but I'm
Okay.
waiting, I'm
Okay.
trying to hear yours
Okay.
first. I have thoughts on it.
So,
I'm sure other people do too. Yeah.
One individual was nominated almost 10 times, so we feel strongly that that individual has made a significant impact, and that individual's number 3 as well as number 5, 4,
6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 14, and 15.
thank you, yes.
And what is we have?
We've given 4 out every year, and I think we can give out 4 this year as well. So are we comfortable with the number of nominations we have to do 4 this year? Yeah, okay. So number 3 as well as number 2 were Commissioner Troska's and I's recommendation, as well as 8 and 1. So those are the recommendations that
There's
our
one,
subcommittee had.
there's one who have no number.
Which one are you talking about?
This one.
Oh, that's a supporting
Oh.
letter.
How many nominees were there total? 4 total?
No,
Or-
there's more than 4.
Okay.
4, 5,
6.
6.
6
Okay.
nominations.
6.
So you said
1,
mm-hmm.
2, 3, which would have all those other nominations, and then number 8.
I'll tell you, I had almost the same list.
Okay.
And one thing I will say, and I wanted to appreciate the feedback that we got from the community member. And I did want to say the work, even if for some of these, because we have in the past required more than one, and we changed that because we wanted to make sure it was a very open process and people aren't self-nominating. And so sometimes, just having other people do it. But all of the work of the ones that I felt were deserving of award are well known in the community. So it's not as if we haven't really seen, I'm sure that even with their names redacted, we've seen the work throughout the community. And the other thing is, this is a human rights award, so we don't need to have city council vote on it. Just as when we do the Moorhead awards, there's a committee that does those. So council doesn't vote on things like that. My thoughts were also, I thought in particular, 1 and 2 were ones that I saw as not only have they done a lot of work on particular issues, but also with collaborating on other human rights and other groups within the community. So, I know it was mentioned even some of the work that they've done with Inclusive Moorhead, or I think about some of the community collaborative events that we've had. So it's nice to see when you've got folks that are working on not only just on the things that they, for instance, have taken on as main focuses within their organizations, but they're really working at lifting up others in the community as well. so I felt that about several of them, but I particularly noted that with groups with the nominee 1 and 2. And I also, I think, felt very strongly about 3. And the one that I felt differently about, I didn't pick 8, not necessarily that it was a bad one, but was less aware. And I thought 13 is one that this is somebody who, in particular, has been such a staunch advocate for folks with disabilities. And it's just, I think about people that are just really out there and also working at reaching out to others. And so that was another person who I've seen with some of the other events that we've planned. I think about when we did the Greater Moorhead Days Parade event and celebration afterwards, and that was something where we really wanted to work at having all people feel welcome and celebrated in Moorhead. And I know that the nominee was also involved with that. So I guess that was my only difference. I think I prioritized 1, 2, 3, and 13. And it also then we have folks from we're focusing on someone who works within our indigenous communities, within our LGBTQIA plus communities, within the Kurdish community, and within the community of folks with disabilities. So I thought that was nice that it was a balance of looking at folks that are really working on a variety of different areas of human rights in our community.
I have a question. Can someone confirm for us number 2 and 16 is not the same?
They are not the same.
Different.
They are different.
Yes.
They are different because Tanya went through and.
Okay. I'm asking because it looks like the information is similar.
Similar, yeah. I think
Maybe
both.
they work together.
Yeah,
I don't know.
both individuals have, I believe, worked. It looks like worked in Inclusive Moorhead. But I also agree with Council Member Depp that White that looking at this, we're looking at individuals that have had impact on not only their community but the greater community collaboration. So I support number 13. Well, number 8 is doing a lot of work. I think they're upcoming on their work, so it's something to look forward to. Any other thoughts?
I also agree with Council Member. I love to see our community, nominating, individuals who are really, really impacting this community. And so to see so many for that one person and how his work and the people, or it's just how he serves in the community in more than one aspect was just wonderful to see. But I did look at 1, 2. I did also look at 13 and the work that individual has done with special needs in the community, and also looking at not also that category of nonprofit, but also that civic community engagement. So while we have some others that we nominated specifically in the area of nonprofit, just looking at a different area in which this individual is serving and doing amazing work in the community. So I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Stone. Any other questions, comments, suggestions?
I have a comment, but I'm
Okay.
confused about the number.
Okay, let's see what we can. I don't know if number 16 had a cover letter. There is.
There is.
There
yeah.
is. There's no cover letter.
It's just a letter.
What I mean.
There's just a letter of
that was
support.
So there is a 16. Now we're good.
Okay.
So my comment is, I definitely agree with
I don't think there's a number 15.
no 15,
Right,
but it's
so number
16.
15.
Right.
There's no number 15. I don't think there.
Oh, is it?
Does
Yeah.
everyone have 16?
Yep.
Yeah.
Goes 13, 14, 16. So I think it was just misnumbered.
That's what I just put it under.
So I definitely agree with Deb White as well. but I am so concerned about 16 too when I read the story behind this individual, involving a lot with fighting for equity and inclusion in Fargo Moorhead area, looking for resource for immigrant-owned organizations and all that. I just feel like it.
So I agree. The work is definitely impactful. However, these other individuals have gone beyond their work, like their work that they do, say a full-time job. They really have gone beyond that, and they've sometimes put in a lot of volunteer work from what we read. While obviously working in a position that you're making impact is wonderful, I think the other individuals we're looking at have really gone beyond, above and beyond their work. But I'm open to any other thoughts. And I think for consistency, and correct me if you want to be wrong, we want to do 4 because we have in the past done 4 awards that touch on many different areas in our community and populations. One of what are the numbers that we're recommending for the award? So nominee 1, nominee 2, 3, and 13.
I'm good with that. I like that.
I'm okay with that as well.
Yes.
Do we want to vote? Get a motion to approve the nominees to receive the awards?
I'll move that we select as the 2023 Moorhead Human Rights Award recipients nominee 1, nominee 2, nominee 3, and nominee 13.
I'll second.
Second, all right. Thank you. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, we have our recipients for 2023. Thank you. I shuffled a lot of paperwork and then
What's the next step with it?
oh yes, the next step. So the awards are given out at the city council meeting in December. December is International Human Rights Awareness Month. So that is why we do that. So we'll have that at the first December council meeting, City of Moorhead council meeting, which is going to be on a Monday at 5 p.m. We will contact all the recipients, and they are welcome to come with their families, and we'll have more details to come. Am I missing anything?
Well, I wonder if can we do a reception ahead of
Yes.
time before?
So details, hopefully we'll have a little bit of a reception that the community can come and congratulate those recipients, as well as their friends and family. So we had a great time last year, and I think it will be fun this year as well. And just really a positive community event.
That happens before our next meeting, correct?
That will happen before our
Right.
December meeting.
So there's nothing else we need to discuss or agree on?
No, I just, who wants to present the awards? Last year I presented, as well as Jen Tosca, the commissioner and vice chair, but if anyone feels strongly about presenting, I'd welcome them.
I think you should present.
Okay.
But I'm happy to be there.
Oh, I'd love for all of us to be there.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. Yes. So more details to come, and we'll post it as well on community pages regarding the details. Awesome. All right. Any other subcommittee reports? I know we have Education and Outreach Committee report.
We do. So, we met, and all of you in your packet received the information. submitted a report, and I don't know if you saw that at the end after the minutes. But the big thing that we worked on in our subcommittee was the calendar for next year. So our committee is responsible for looking at what we want for topics and speakers. And so in light of our earlier discussion, this is where maybe we should look at changing it a little bit. We could do that if we wanted to. Instead of having 2 speakers, we could just, we could remove some of these if we wanted to work in either quarterly or some sort of a, times to have law enforcement presentations. But otherwise, you can see if, the different things that we've proposed. What we did is we kept the topics the same in terms of the themes that we've used in the past, and then just propose some changes to bring in some new speakers. So would you like me to run through them, or should we, what would you like, Madam Chair?
I think in regards to just time and some of our members having to leave early, I think we can go through them and make recommendations. Otherwise, I think in terms of it looks great, and not having, sometimes we don't have speakers, but having that platform for community partners and having a stand-in for the law enforcement update.
Yeah, so I guess along those lines, if we were to change, because we should vote on this, the commission should vote on it next month, right? So that because it starts in January. If we were, because actually we do have some other places. So for instance, for January, one of the recommendations that we had is, because it's Human Trafficking Awareness Month, is to invite Lieutenant Mike Detloff and Leanne Wallen from Moorhead PD to speak on local programming to combat human trafficking. And I was just hoping that Derek was here. I could ask him about that. But we do have that as our January recommendation. But that wouldn't get at any of the question things that we had talked about, but it would give us some information. We could, I guess, let me just ask, do you want us to work in to do this quarterly or 3 times a year, or?
Yeah, law enforcement update?
Yes.
Quarterly is good, but
4 times a year?
And if we don't have a topic to do, 4 times 3 is fine. I mean, I guess however many topics we would have, I'm comfortable with
And
that.
do you want it us to not have another speaker at that time? Should that be our speaker for that night? Because otherwise we go.
Well,
I feel like it should, like, that should just be
Yeah,
our speaker.
that's-
Although, like, if you're looking at it, like, if we have M speak on voting rights in March, I mean, would that be something, how long is that going to take? I mean, is that a time where you could have the Derek?
have law enforcement?
Yes, have law enforcement come in and speak as well on that time. I mean, because I don't think if we're going to do quarterly, there's no way he probably is going to get everything organized and put together by January.
Right.
And we don't want to not have our Human Rights Award guests here. I mean, that's a month you don't
that
want to
would be
really.
for
yeah.
January. Yeah, looking at that, March would be a good
At
start
March
for
and
the
then
first
June,
quarter.
maybe?
Yeah, first quarter or.
And there are some that, the nice things, there are some that are more of just like an update. So for instance, if we look at ones that are, like even in June, we have somebody come in from FM Pride Week because we're collaborating with them. So we want them to come to talk to us about what's happening, but it's not necessarily like a bigger presentation. And the same thing when we have the Indigenous Association come in, it's to get us ready for Indigenous Peoples Day, or when we have representatives from Pangea come in. So we could have it where we have them coming in, and that's a short thing, and then we have the law enforcement update, the presentation on those ones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just do, if you're looking at this, why don't we just do 3 times a year, and we have them in March, June, and September?
I think that sounds
That's a great suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like after September, then we have our, our
Yeah.
award ceremony and all that stuff, and our
And
meetings
people
tend to
get-
take longer then.
I agree. I like that suggestion.
Okay.
Otherwise, what did folks think about the list that we have?
I think it
For
looks great.
speakers,
Hmm?
I like that we have more of a variety of speakers. Certainly not names that we've heard. Well, we have maybe one repeat, but I hope that they can come on those months. If not, we're more than willing to rearrange to hear from those folks.
I will ask if anyone, and I was going to ask Jen this. We were trying to think of somebody, we're looking for a recommendation for July. That is Disability Independence Day is July 26th, and so we thought our recommendation was to invite a speaker who advocates for people with invisible disabilities, such as those who are neurodivergent or deal with chronic pain, et cetera. I thought Jen might be a good person to ask, but I don't know if anybody else has any recommendations for an organization or somebody, an advocate in our community.
Can't think of
I can think of.
anyone, but we can ask Jen or Marissa, someone with more information regarding that.
If so, we don't need to take more time on it. If we want to, we'll have our subcommittee work in those other, well, really, do we need to make any other change? Or like, if we're just going to add the law enforcement part to those 3 months, we don't need to change anything else unless anybody wants to change anything.
I don't think so.
I think it looks great. Thank you.
So do we need to, are we going to
Vote on it.
on it?
Vote on it.
Okay.
I think it
So
looks great.
can I make a motion that we approve with the amendment of including the law enforcement updates and information on those 3 months?
I'll second.
Second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That has been approved, our education outreach speakers for next year. So thank you for your work on that, Education and Outreach Committee. Any other subcommittee reports? So for events, we just have Pangea coming up on Saturday. And we had a sign up go out for the hospitality room from 10 to 4. Some of our subcommittee members have volunteered, so thank you to Em and Marissa, and thank you Councilmember White for arranging and setting up the room. I will be present at the event and pop in when I can. I don't know how much availability I have. I know Commissioner Auden has agreed to volunteer as well. So otherwise, I mean, if you can make it, it's a great event. I think we're going to speak. They have given a little bit of a time slot for the Human Rights Commission to speak about the work, and form the 1:30. Yep. So that'll be something. Otherwise, I think events have slowed down for the year, but like our presenter Alex Milton stated, November 20th there is events for Trans Disability Day. So hopefully we can be on the lookout and tune into that and the event at MSUM. I encourage any commissioner that has time to attend. So any other reports, announcements, or upcoming events? Right, we do have some new business. So going to item number 12 on the agenda is the media and inclusive language policies that we heard from last month. So we want to present that and get support of city council. Is that what I understand?
So we weren't able to act on it because we didn't have a quorum, but the discussion that we had last night was twofold. One was to collaborate with the Fargo Human Rights Commission to make a resolution of asking that local media outlets, like encouraging local media outlets to adopt gender inclusive language policies. And so that would be one thing that we could vote on. And then the second thing that we brought up is that we could, in addition to that, we could also make a recommendation to the Moorhead City Council that they, when they are picking a newspaper of record that is the sort of the official newspaper for the city, that they take into consideration whether that media outlet has a gender inclusive language policy.
I like collaborating with the Fargo Human Relations. Or is it
They actually changed it now. They changed the Human Rights.
It's Human Rights Commission because we're intertwined as a community. I think a collaboration would be good. I'm open to the recommendation to the city council. I think that would be challenging because we don't have many outlets that are very popular in our area. So, or otherwise we could encourage, letters to our media outlets to encourage them to have those policies of inclusive language. So I support both, but any other thoughts on that? Do we want to vote on that, or do we want
We can. Well, we don't. I mean, we didn't vote on it last month because we didn't have a quorum. We currently have a quorum.
Okay.
So
could I get a motion to collaborate with the Human Rights Commission in Fargo regarding inclusive language policies of media outlets?
I'll motion to collaborate with Human
Okay.
Rights.
And
I'll
a
motion
second?
that.
I'll second.
All approved? Could I get a vote? Are you voting?
Discussion.
Any discussion on that? Any more further discussion? All in favor? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. None heard? And then the recommendation to City Council. Do we have a motion to do that as well?
I'll make a motion that we recommend that the Moorhead City Council, when selecting a newspaper record, consider whether it has a gender inclusive policy.
Any second.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That has been approved as well. One more discussion item is the recommendation to the council about the makeup of boards and commissions. This is very important, I think, when we see our community that has changed over the years rapidly. And I think besides the Human Rights Commission, we don't see that reflection in a lot of other commissions or boards. So I support this, but I was wondering any other thoughts or suggestions about recommending, those demographics to the city council when they appoint boards and commissions.
And I'll just give the background for, in case anybody is unfamiliar, what we've done over the last couple of years is that we just made a recommendation to the council, because this is the time of the year when they're getting ready to, because terms for boards and commissions, if they are on a regular term, then they would expire at the end of January. And so council members will be looking at filling those vacancies. And what we've done in the past is we've provided demographic information, and our recommendation has just been to encourage them to consider the ways in which the makeup of those boards and commissions do or do not reflect the community at large, and how they might make appointments that might help be more representative of our community. So that's the recommendation that we've made before.
I'm in support of that. Do we want to
We
vote on
wanting to
it?
continue that same
Yep.
recommendation?
We certainly could, and actually, and I've asked for the demographic information. And actually, I was hoping we would have it tonight. So, and with last year, we even reviewed that, and from the information that we have about applications for boards and commissions and who's currently on them, the only information that we can look at is gender, race, ethnicity, and age. And we just happen to have changed our platform for how we collect those things, and it's not as easy as it was before. So I wasn't able to get it in time for tonight's meeting, but we certainly can get that. And if this is something that the commission wanted, we could have that sent to the council. So they would just have it to look at and see, like, here's what the current makeup is of this board, and, you know, I'm appointing somebody, and so how might I think about, you know, that as I'm looking at who I'm going to appoint.
Want to take a vote on it?
So somebody may want to make a recommendation first?
I recommend that we ask the council to consider demographics and when they appoint boards and commissions.
Absolutely, and I'll second that.
Okay. So you're making a motion?
You can't make the motion, so
Okay.
you have to make
Okay,
it.
I
Yes.
thought I heard you say you
No,
make
I'm
the motion.
recommending.
Oh, you said you recommend, okay. Well, absolutely, looking at how they've done that in the past, I'll make a motion.
All right,
They
can I get a
consider
second?
demographics.
And it's okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So is there anything else we need to discuss before adjourning the meeting? No? All right. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you to our speakers, our citizen to be heard, everyone in attendance. Thank you.